All right. What's up, guys? Michael here. We don't have Chris in the studio yet, but we are here with another Fit Dads live stream. So thank you for everyone who's going to be showing up live today in the chat and as well as on the playback. We definitely do enjoy putting on these shows for you guys each and every episode that we do, and we do these every other week, as you know, and we switch our channels. Back and forth. I do it on my channel, and then we'll do it on Chris's channel every other week. So thank you guys once again, for joining us today on this stream. So today, let's get into this topic. What I've got here for us today, or what Chris and I have got for us, is um, the question is, how do you get results and keep results? That's kind of what we're trying to get into today. And basically, in other words, how do you get motivated and then stay motivated? Because without motivation, you don't get any work done. Without any work, you don't get results. So we got to figure out, how to get that done appropriately. It sounds like a very simple question to answer. It sounds like it's very simple to take care of, but that's not always the case, because motivations aren't all created equal. And I'm going to go through a list of motivations. I've kind of got my notes here, kind of go through them and then play them out through and see how you really end up with each individual possible motivation. I'm trying to throw everything at you today, every possible scenario, so you can, decide for yourself really what works for you. Everybody is certainly going to be different, but there are certainly some obvious motivations that are temporary, and that's what we want to try to avoid. Of course, temporary motivations are nice to get maybe from one step to another, but in the grand scheme of things, you have to have some longevity uh, to motivate you. Otherwise, you do end up quitting, burning out, whatever it may be. You'll shut down. The motivation has to carry you through. So, of course, when you're talking about a lifestyle, you're talking about a multitude of motivations. You don't have just one. I personally don't have just one motivation, but I certainly do have different levels of that get me through and keep me going. So I want to be able to kind of go through that stuff with you guys today and hopefully help you find your own lane and find your own motivation. I'd like to hear everybody's opinions on each individual, motivation that we go through to kind of see how that would maybe carry you, or maybe how you can also, educate, the rest of the viewers that, in the comments below. Let them know that, these certain motivations burn out for certain reasons, and here they are. But once again, we're here just trying to give the best knowledge we can, and so that we can help each individual with their fitness lifestyle. So, what is a true motivation? I guess that would be the question. Looks like we got Titus that's just joined us. Thank you, Titus, for jumping on the stream, jumping on live. Greatly appreciate everybody else who jumps on today on live and in the playback. And definitely would like to see the comments below, of course. But yeah, so what's a true motivation, or what would you think a true motivation is? So I've got a list here, and I'll kind of run through it, and we're going to hit on each one and kind of see where that particular motivation carries us. How far do we really think these individual motivations will carry us? And I wonder if I can have somebody count how many times I say motivation. I'm just realizing I've said it about 50 times, but although that is the main topic today, it's kind of funny. Anyway, so motivations I have here are just overall health. That is a motivation for some. Um, Losing weight is certainly a motivation. Gaining muscle or gaining weight, either or. Usually it's gaining muscle. You don't want to gain fat, but anyhow, getting bigger. Um, Aesthetics, just overall aesthetics as a motivation. Revenge, that's an interesting one that came to my mind, and I had to put that down because that's an honest to goodness motivation for some people, and for a multitude of reasons, and we'll go through it. A health scare is another motivation. We also have here mental health or low self-esteem as a motivation to get into fitness, get into the fitness lifestyle, or at least begin working out, right? Going to the gym or running or cycling, whatever you choose to do as far as fitness is concerned. And then another motivation I put down is just simply trying to fit in. You're just trying to fit into some group, um, and for whatever reason, it's a motivation for some people, just simply to fit in. When you don't feel like you fit in other places, you want to get into fitness, maybe you'll fit into that group. So let's see. Let's see. Where do we start? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, let's start with trying to fit in. Let's just go bottom back up. I've read them down. Let's move all the way back up the chain and kind of see how far each of these will carry you, or possibly carry you, and where the pitfalls are, so you can avoid them. And then also um, where are the portions of these motivations that help you. Not all these are just throwaway. I'm not saying, just because you can't carry this all the way through for longevity doesn't mean they're throwaway. It means you have to understand they are temporary motivations. So they get you to a next step, but you have to have a greater plan in line, something else moving you through to the next step. Because, temporary motivations only take you so far. So trying to fit in. Um, and this comes from, maybe it even stems from a little bit of the low self-esteem, or whatever, or the mental health, as I had listed before. But I can almost guarantee that most of us have in our lifetime felt this felt this, where we just wanted to fit into a group, whatever group that may be. In this case, it's fitness. So we just want to fit in. We didn't feel like we uh, fit into many other groups, so we wanted to fit in somewhere. So in this case, to fit in, you take up fitness. And what that does is, so if we carry that through, so let's say you want to fit in, you're tired of, I don't know, being a self-proclaimed loner. Um, you could work out, you go to the gym, you could cycle, you can get into a cycling club or a running club, or go to a public gym and then start kind of getting into that gym atmosphere, and kind of having your gym buddies and things of that nature. Um, that only carries you so far. That one is a temporary motivation, because once you get into that group, once you're into that lifestyle, it just, how can I put it? To me, it just, once you're there and you've arrived, right? You're a part of the group, you're part of the clique, you're there, you've arrived. You can't get more a part of that group by just staying in it longer. I mean, your relationships may be building, but you can't get any more into that group. You can't fit in anymore. Once you fit in and you found that, okay, cool, this is my lane. I fit here with these people. Okay, so once that's done, that's done. And then I believe you can easily then fall out of the fitness lifestyle, because that you showing up to that group and seeing those people aren't are no longer your motivation to continue. You've shown up, you've gotten to know these people, or gotten into the atmosphere, and so essentially you've arrived. Once you've reached that step, you need something else to help you continue to move forward in the fitness journey. And I'm only speaking from personal experience. I've been at this for over 20 years now. And so Lord knows I've had a million different motivations, and they've changed over the years multiple times. And so that's also what I want to encourage you, to give you some encouragement, to say that I'm not expecting you to find your silver bullet motivation today, and it's going to carry you through the rest of your whole life, as far as your fitness lifestyle, your fitness journey is. It's not going to happen. Your motivations will change all the time. But I personally, I can tell when I've had a short-term motivation, and then I've had one that carries me for a long time. And then now, personally, my motivation now is carrying me extremely far. Now, I won't dare say that it's going to carry me you know, to the end. I don't know how far it's going to carry me, but I know that I have a very high purpose uh, for getting in the gym or exercising, riding bikes with the family, running with my wife, things like that. I have a high motivation. And mine is simply now at this point in my life, I'm a father. So mine is now I have to stay healthy and strong to raise my kids. I want to run and play with my kids, run, jump, and play. And then I want to keep that up because then I expect to have grandchildren and I want to run and play with them. So I know to do that, I've got to stay consistent with my fitness because that's a long hike. That's going to be a long time before I'm done raising my kids and around the house. That's still a long time. Much less now they have children and now I'm running and playing with the grandkids. So you see, that's my motivation today. And I've had many that have changed throughout the years, and you will too. But anyhow, so trying to fit in, that's definitely a short term motivation. By all means, use it if you need to, but understand you have to find a bigger one. You have to find a higher purpose. And that's what we're going to go through today. I want to help you understand between very short term and more long term type motivations. So, moving into the next one, you have your mental health, your low self esteem. So that's a motivation for a great many of us, more than maybe we would like to admit. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water. So more than we'd like to admit. And that being said, that is to me, that's a very solid motivation. When you are in a bad place mentally and you have a low self-esteem, you want to do something to better yourself. And it doesn't always mean get into fitness, but this is a fitness channel, so we're talking about fitness. You could do many other things to raise your self-esteem or help your mental health. You can get spiritually right. You can go back to school. There's so many other things you can help get that straight. But as far as this channel is concerned, we're talking about fitness. So if you chose fitness to help your mental health and your self-esteem, that's a solid motivation. And that's going to carry you for a pretty long while. But that too is, and so I keep saying that I'm going to go through these and I'm going to tell you which ones are temporary and which ones are long term. What I mean by long term is, and the difference between temporary and long term is going to be carrying you for many years. I don't think there's any one motivation that carries you for your entire life. At least not that I've known of anyway, not that I've used, because I've changed multiple times. But the difference between short term and long term when we're talking on this stream today is that short term is like a year or two, sometimes even a matter of just a few months, but short term. But when I'm talking about long term, I'm talking about many years, something that could carry you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years through to the next step, to the next stage in your life. Because I think as we complete decades of our life, God willing, we all complete many decades to come. But as we complete those decades, you move into different portions of your life where you change. So therefore, naturally, your motivations can change. And again, I'm saying I'm topic, but I'm also kind of explaining me, so you guys can relate to me. So what I mean by that is, dude, whenever I was in my 20s, my big motivation was to get as big and as jacked as possible. I wanted to look amazing. Physically, I wanted to look amazing. And really, I was just trying to attract girls, or namely, my girlfriend slash wife during that decade of my life. I was just trying to be a G. And a lot of us guys can appreciate that and probably relate very easily to that. As we get through the teenage and into 20s, your motivations are pretty shallow. Now we're immature enough in that time to where those motivations do carry us pretty much through that entire decade. We're just immature enough to go through all the way to about 30, and then we, something changes and we change our motivation. But that's certainly carried me, and that sounds so shallow and so temporary, but that's what carried me the long haul through, teenage into my 20s, and as I approached 30. So that's what I mean by long-term motivations, because as you cross decades, motivations and goals will change. So anyhow, I hope that explains a little bit of how I'm going through these with you guys, because I want everybody to understand what I'm talking about, short term and long term, and I also want everybody to understand that these goals are always going to change and fluctuate, but we do need to be realistic about our goal setting, so that as we set goals for ourselves, we're not setting ourselves up for failure. We're not setting a goal that could ultimately end in our failure because we didn't plan for the long haul, right? There's always good, cool, short, spurts of goal setting that we go through to get us for these tiny steps as we move forward. But we're looking for a fitness lifestyle. That's what I'm getting into. Fitness lifestyle, not just not just crash dieting. Let's say that. I'm not worried about crash dieting. That's a waste. I'm looking for a fitness lifestyle. So again, mental health, low self-esteem, that's going to carry you for a little while, but it's not a really really long-term motivation. And the reason why I say that is because um, if you get into fitness and you enjoy it, your mental health will improve, and it'll improve quite quickly. Once you begin to see the results, and after about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, you get through your first year, you get all your little newbie gains and all that stuff, and you're getting a lot of results. And then you start getting more knowledgeable, realizing I got to do this, that, and the other to continue my progress, and then that'll carry you for a little while. Your mental health is going to improve quite quickly. And I know a great many people who get into fitness for mental health, and they will tell you, man, it just keeps me from going crazy. I just enjoy it. I love the physicality of it. And if I miss it too long or for too many, sessions, if I miss too many, training sessions, if I get sick, I can work out for 2 weeks. Yeah, I get depressed. Like it affects them. And personally, I can relate to that. It affects me as well. I've been in situations um, in my whole fitness, journey that where I've had to take time off for one reason or another, and it sucks. It sucks. So I feel your pain. I feel your pain. But ultimately, once we and being someone who does fitness as a help to my mental health and self-esteem personally, I do know that it just that kind of fades away. That goal fades away. It doesn't just turn off, but it just fades away. And that's the danger of that particular goal. Uh, that's the danger of that particular motivation because it slowly fades away. And then once it's gone, you might, if unless you have something to continue carrying you forward, you might start tapering off on your fitness, right? Because you're feeling good, feeling good. Oh man, hey, I'm gonna skip today. I'm gonna go out with the boys, go out with the girls, whatever it may be, and then you find yourself skipping more and more. And then what ends up happening is then your mental health goes back down again. So then you realize, oh man, okay, so let me pick this back up. So while it is a short-term motivation, it can almost be used as a uh, long-term motivation if you're willing to go through the peaks and valleys, right? But who the heck wants to do that? That's almost like yo-yo dieting. I don't want to do it. It drives me bananas. Let's see. I got Titus here sounding off. He says, "So true. Long-term motivations do seem to change by the decades. Longevity does seem to be one that will carry us for a while, not only for ourselves but our family. But the G decades were a blast. Oh yeah, hell yeah, they were. That was so much fun, dude. That was so much fun. You just go crazy in the gym. I remember, man, I just did stupid stuff. You lift stupid. It's all the ego lifting you can get a hold of. It's so much fun, and you were just so self-centered because you had no responsibility. You weren't grown. You were immature. You're so self-centered. So you just posing in the mirror, looking fresh, looking tight, and you just knew when you went out to get the girls, you was like, yeah, these ladies love it. I already know. It was fun. It was fun. But again, that was for that decade of life, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed having, my girlfriend slash wife. That was my decade. She was my girlfriend, became my wife in my 20s. I enjoyed impressing her, and just so you know, was it spoiler warning? I still do. So any man who is happily married, and no matter where you are in that marriage, me being 42 now, I still try to impress my wife, and it's fun. I love doing it. So that is another motivation I don't have on my list, but impressing your wife or impressing your significant other or your spouse. That's a motivation. Let me get Chris in the stream here. Looks like he just showed up.
The infamously late,
What's up,
as
man?
always.
How you doing?
Man, what a day it's been already.
Yeah, man. No worries, man. We've already started diving into this whole topic of basically, how do you get results and keep results? And so basically, it translates into how do you get motivated and stay motivated. So I'm just kind of going through my list of different motivations that I could think of, and I'm pulling this from just my 20 years of fitness, things that have either gone through my head personally, or I know of other people that have used these motivations to move forward. So what I'm trying to do, and I know that you can definitely sound off on this and give a lot of information on it, is I'm going through these individual motivations and uh, trying to put them into a category of, are they short term or are they long term? Long term. Are they going to carry a long haul? A long haul being 5+ years, short term being, a few months up to maybe a couple years. But we're trying to get it to where we educate people, and so they know that what goals will get you to from point A to point B, but then what goals are going to get you from point A to point Z. We because there's going to be many, many, many goals that we set throughout our fitness journey, and I'm sure maybe you could speak to it. Let me ask you, in your entire, what have you been lifting? What, for 8 years, 10 years? Tell me how many
At
different
that.
motivations. So, but even if so, you got half that. So I want to hear it from you, because I know I've already probably bored the crowd here and gone through my motivations of my 20+ years. What have your motivations been on your short term and your long term? What keeps you going right now today?
Well, as far as are you guys able? I just want to make sure is audio okay?
Oh
No,
yeah,
like static or anything. Okay.
no, you're good.
Um, as for the short term, um, it's really hard to say because you know, I was always more slender, even playing football, and whatnot. And then even at 18, I was still only 5'11". So I always had like 6-pack abs, and I skateboarded a lot through middle school. So I stayed shredded, but I was never like muscular. I was more slender. But it seemed like I stayed the exact same weight after high school, and as a lot of people know that watch my channel, I was partying all the time, doing drugs and stuff. So, but I grew 4 more inches taller after high school, from the time I was 18 to 23 or 22. One of those. I grew
Man,
from 5'11" to 6'3".
man,
Yeah, so I had like a later in life growth spurt, and it was really weird because I was smoking cigarettes. I was probably drinking 6 out of 7 days a week, and I was doing cocaine, any kind of other party drugs, and I was still growing. And everybody always told me growing up, smoking cigarettes will stunt your growth, and doing this and doing that will stunt your growth. And I just kind of naturally proved them wrong. But anyway, I
right.
always wanted to have a more muscular build, and I would always talk about it, and I did. A couple times I would get back into the gym and I would start focusing more on my diet, but I never really learned how, the dynamics of how to build muscle until I learned I had a kid on the way.
Right, right.
And when I learned I had a kid on the way, that's when I, traded in my partying addiction or whatever for an addiction to health and fitness in order to hopefully live a longer life and be around to, see my grandkids. But that was the primary motivation, short term and long term. Short term, I want my son to look up to me going to the gym and just, thinks that that's a normal thing to do because I want him to be healthy. And, it's crazy how fast they grow, man. It's just ridiculous. He's already 3. And by the time he's 5, I plan to have him in jujitsu. So
Very
Really, I would say that, Brittany, she was indifferent. I've gained like right at 50 pounds, and she
nice.
just, you know, but that was like from my rock bottom, like drugged out, dried up, 154 pounds.
Right.
But I would say for the past year, I've just been at maintenance because
Okay.
just had so much other stuff going on. But um, it's still a priority.
Absolutely. Well, you know what's interesting is before you even got on the stream, I stated that as a motivation as well, as far as having children and wanting to get more longevity out of my life. Right? Like, my days of being irresponsible were over. Right? So now I'm looking forward to being there for my kids and then for my grandchildren. So it's very interesting that you say that, because you weren't even on the stream whenever I went through that whole exact same goal setting for myself. So it's highly motivational, when you start a family, and that is certainly a long term motivation that can carry you quite a long way, to keep you going. Because once you get through raising your kids, then you've got what hopefully some grandkids behind that. But once you get through grandkids, I think now as most people are, you're probably 60s, 70s, 80s. Once you get through the grandchildren, having to run and play with them, and they're grown, then at that point in our lives, we will find once again another motivation. And what I was explaining to the audience here, Chris, was that as we pass different decades in our lives, as we cross those barriers, you'll find that your goals and your motivations naturally just change. It just seems to be every decade you grow into a new person. And so who knows what each decade holds, but I hope every one of us here have many, many decades left out in front of us. But that's what Chris and I are here to do, is to motivate everybody on the fitness lifestyle, to educate them so that we can all get there together and be healthy doing it. Because who the heck wants to be broke down, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s if you're so lucky? Who wants to be broke down? I want to live as long as I possibly can. I want to live every single day the Lord will give me, but I only want to do it if I'm actually living, not just surviving, because there's a difference between those. So that's what Chris and I are here for, anyhow. But I wanted to keep going on this list, Chris, that I was going through. And the next thing I have on the list here is health scare as a goal or a motivation. So what I mean by that is I see this daily in my patients, in my profession, and where they abuse themselves up until their body basically says, nope, no more, and gives them a heart attack or a stroke or whatever, and it scares the crap out of them. Doesn't kill them, they survived, but that's a massive health scare. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're in it. You're on it. You're on a good diet. You're working out, at whatever level you can at that point. But that is a motivation for a great many people, is a health scare. But to me, that's a temporary motivation, because you've had your heart attack. Let's just say we're talking about a heart attack. You survived it. It scared the crap out of you, and you did an about face on all of your health and fitness. You'll do that, and you'll be motivated by that for probably a couple years. And I'm only basing that off of the patients I've seen over the 2 decades I've been in cardiovascular work. So from what I've seen, that'll motivate them for a couple of years. Past that, you got to find another one. You got to find another one, because after that, the event is so far behind you, it doesn't conjure up that emotional piece anymore, as far as how it motivates you or helps you set that goal. That emotion goes away, like the whole old adage, time heals all wounds. So after a while, you almost forget how scary that was to have survived that. You don't forget it, but it doesn't conjure up the same emotion. So after a couple of years, that fades. I don't know. What do you think about that, Chris? Do you have any insight on that?
Um, you know, my grandpa, he died at 73 on like his third stroke, and he had lupus. He had 2 heart attacks, I believe, and 3 strokes, and the third one killed him. And then last year, I was working part-time delivering furniture, and we delivered furniture to this guy. It was in a gated community, really nice place. And when we met him, I figured this dude is like 40 years old, and he told us he was 75. And I did not believe him at all. And he pulled his ID and showed it to us. And I was like, are you, like, he did, there was barely, I probably have more gray hair than this guy did. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were like, what's your secret? And he just pointed at his bicycle. And it was funny because I had just been talking to my coworker and, you know, a buddy of mine, and I was telling him, you know, I think I had done like a 5K, like a 3-mile run the day before. And I was telling him how, you know, exhausting it is, but I do it for longevity because it's heart health or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't particularly enjoy running, whether it's on the trail or the treadmill, but I do it because it increases endurance and it, you know, you feel good about it later. And, you know, it just kind of strengthens your heart and your, you know, arteries and everything like that, your blood flow, and it helps with blood pressure. So I just kind of laughed and I was like, yeah, I was just telling him about, you know, running. And, I've got a bicycle too, but I usually just go run. I don't even get the bike out.
Gotcha. So you're more of a runner.
Yeah, it's just, if I get the hunch, it's just easier than getting the bike out. You know, it's like I got to check the tires and make sure everything's good to go. And I'd rather just take off, you know, like do it while I have the motivation. Just get out of here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but as far as the health scares, it kind of makes me think of what's her name? Is it Tammy from My 600-Pound Life? And she's always at the doctor and she's got all these health problems and, you know, and she doesn't stick with anything, you know, like she'll have these health scares and then she's, but my other grandpa, he drank whiskey every day for probably 30, 40 years. And he had the same kind of thing where they told him he was going to have liver failure. He was going to die, you know.
Yeah.
And he must have been 65 or so. And he actually quit drinking after all those years. I mean, every day of having whiskey. And, yeah. And to my knowledge, he's still not drinking. And that's been probably seven years ago, maybe 8.
That's impressive.
So, you know, and for him, it was because of the family, you know, everybody got on him and was like, you don't get to drink yourself to death, dude.
Exactly.
And everybody was badgering him about it, and his wife, and, you know, I think one of my uncles went and stayed with him for a while to make sure, kind of help him stay motivated. But yeah, that's kind of all the experience really I have with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is about those health scares is, again, it still takes me back to the fact that I think that's a short-term motivation because once again, it sounds like even with, you know, what you just explained in your own life experience, and then what I've seen in, you know, my many patients over a couple of decades of work, that after a while, the scariness wears off. There's no longer a health scare because it doesn't scare anymore. It's moved on. It's in the past. You've moved on past it. So I think while I think that's a great motivation, I also think that's a motivation that is, it's hard for me to say too late because it's never too late. But guys, please don't wait till you have an event to go and get into fitness. You've got to find a motivation before that. And so that's why we're here today. But anyway, it feels too late once you've had your health scare. You don't.
I feel like they get emboldened. Like they're like, oh, I beat it this time, you know, so I'm good, you know, and then they'll develop a level of, you know, cardiovascular health or they'll lose a bunch of weight and they'll think, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah,
And then
that's
that's
exactly
kind of
right.
the end of it.
You're 100% right. And that's why I say it's a short-term motivation. While it's a powerful one, it's a short-term one. You got Titus here saying, for me, habits overcome motivation at times. I'm not always motivated to eat healthy or work out, but I've learned and I'm still learning to discipline my body even when I don't feel like it. So agreed. And that's coming from a gentleman like, maybe you or I, Chris, where uh, fitness is a part of the lifestyle. And that's the things we go through that, where we get our habits sometimes overcome the motivations at times. And then, like he said here, he's learned that he's still learning how to discipline himself and discipline his body basically over the many years as he goes through this. So, and as he said, even when he doesn't feel like it, he's learning discipline. And that's a habit that is only formed over a long period of time because this crap ain't easy. And if it was, everybody would do it. I know everybody's heard that a million times, maybe cliche, but it's so true. He also says, Titus also says, let's see, what are your thoughts on uh, discipled habits versus motivation? Um, is motivation the start to discipline? Is motivation the start to discipline? In my opinion, you're just asking my opinion. Yes, you have to be motivated to take the first step, and you're not going to have discipline until you take the first step. And actually, discipline doesn't come until you've taken multitude of steps to where it becomes habitual. So my thoughts are motivation must come first, and I don't care where you get it from, go get it. But what I'm trying to explain here today, or what Chris and I are trying to go over, is understanding how to set realistic goals, and therefore understanding what motivations are going to carry you through the short term, and then what's going to pick up to take you on the long haul. So yes, motivation comes before discipline, Titus, to answer your question. And I'm going to slide right back into another line item I have here. One of the motivations I had written down, Chris, is revenge. Revenge is a great motivation. It's one that, everybody knows about, all the breakups or whatever revenge you're talking about, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a bully, or whatever you're trying to overcome and get revenge against. It is a fantastic motivator because it is a unique motivator. If you ask me, it really conjures up a lot of energy and a lot of anger, and you channel it very well, as long as you're doing it through fitness like we're talking about here today. But revenge, but as far as revenge is concerned, it is probably the shortest lived motivation on this entire list that I have here today, because there if any of us here today or on playback have ever done something to get revenge, you realize once that revenge has been gotten, there's really not much satisfaction in it. And it's dead after that. Even if you got great satisfaction in it, it lays dead. It's over. It's done. Revenge is done. Your motivation goes from 1,000% to zero in a heartbeat. What do you think about that, Chris? Are you agreeing with me, or what do you have any experience on that?
Some. Um, yeah, I would say whenever I was younger, I was probably like 20 and I was dating that 29-year-old woman, whatever. She still behaved like a girl, but she had kids, and she had just gone through a divorce, and I was head over heels for her. She was smoking hot, and I was like, I don't know. I remember on our first date, I think I spilled my drink because I was so damn nervous. But I mean, she came and bunked up with me for like a year, and then just was like, "Yeah, well, this has been fun," And I was messed up about it. So
Yeah.
I started going to the gym, um, and I think I got up to like 195 pounds. It wasn't a healthy 195. I bet I was 20% body fat, which for me is fat. Just
Sure.
my genetics. I mean, I normally stay around 15. And even at 20, I still have a six pack, or maybe 5 pack. The bottom one's like just one, but whatever. But yeah, it was short lived. After I moved on, I kind of just went from going 5 days a week to three to two to not at all.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's more important. That's why I tell people, and we went over the New Year's resolution thing, but to make small changes over time. If you have the motivation to make a change, it's if you can, bite off a huge chunk and chew it and keep going, that's great. But most of the time, it's going to start small. Like I tell people, the way I started was I think I was doing maybe 20 to 40 push ups like every 2 days. And then I
yep,
added in like some chair dips. And then I think I threw jogging in like a couple weeks after that, once a week. And just slowly and then, maybe a month in, I got me a pull up bar and some resistance bands, dumbbells. And 6 months in, I got me a weight bench and kind of built a foundation. I would take my barbell outside and, I couldn't put any big amount of weight on it and lift it up and put it over my shoulders, but I could put like 135 on and, either put it up over my head or have somebody help me put it on my shoulders, and I would do lunges with it
very
across the
cool.
yard. But I built a foundation before I even got a gym membership because I did not want to go in there. I was like, I'm not going to go in here embarrassing myself. So I went from only being able to do maybe 10 to 12 push ups at a time
Yeah,
to, I mean, I think the last time I maxed out on push ups, I was at 38 or something like that.
that's impressive, man. That's impressive.
But yeah, it was a very slow, incremental increase over time to where, you know, it's very simple to make a single change where you're doing something for maybe 30 minutes once a week,
Yeah,
for one day, and then you can go from there.
right.
So I think that's a lot easier than trying to change your entire lifestyle all at once.
100%. And Chris, and guys, I hope everybody who's listening to this on live or on playback really heard what Chris just said, because to me, it struck a chord to me, Chris. So it's so important to manage your goal setting and keep it realistic and keep it very organic, right? So what Chris basically is explaining is that how he slowly got into fitness, and it just happened, and he allowed himself to naturally build up. What he didn't do, or what you did not do, Chris, is I didn't hear you say, I went and got a membership and I was in the gym the next day. That's an extremely intimidating thing for those who have never been in the gym, or haven't been in fitness and aren't fit per se. And so that's where I think a lot of people fail. So a lot of people will, they'll sit up and they'll say, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go. And so what do they do? They always tell me, I just went in one day and I got a gym membership. Okay. And the thing is that whole go getting a gym membership, man, it's motivating. It's like it's exciting. It builds up like the endorphins, and you're pumped about it. I got a gym membership, but 9 times out of 10, I hear people do that. They just never show up at the gym. And then once again, 9 times out of 10, I ask them why. It's because they're embarrassed. They don't feel like they fit in. They're not part of that community. And so they just don't show up. Whereas, Chris, what you did is you slowly built up to where you felt like, okay, I'm getting stronger. I am in it. And so you felt what you did. I think what you did mentally is you were saying, okay, maybe I do like this fitness thing. And so now it's worth it. I'll go get a gym membership, because basically you were testing the water, seeing, do I really want to do this? Is this my thing, or do I want to do something else? So you slowly built up, and you got more and more in shape by yourself with body weight and a few little weights you picked up here and there and some resistance bands. And then after a while, you said, screw it, I'm ready to go. And then you went and got a gym membership, and then you've been going ever since. I think that's fantastic. And I think that's a great example of exactly how people should get into fitness. I understand it's exciting to think you can just jump in with all your heart, 2 feet in first, just jump in. but for a great many of us, that just doesn't work. And it only ever works if you started when you were like in your teenage years, when you were really, really young, where you were too stupid to think, oh, I don't fit into this. You just thought you were, when you're a teenage or lower 20s, you just think you're the man, even when you're not. So you'll get a gym membership and you'll go kick some ass in the gym. And so that's not a big deal. But for a lot of us, we don't really get into the fitness until we're well into our 30s or 40s because the last time we did anything was in high school, right? That's for a lot of us. Last time you did anything active was in high school, and then some of us college. Then after you get out of school, it seems like we all just sit and wait, and then so we don't get back to it until our 30s or 40s, and by then now we're embarrassed. Now we're embarrassed. So that's why I say it's not a good idea. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. Just go jump in and go get a membership at a gym. You won't show up. The likelihood you'll show up is very low. And I hope you use my words today as fuel to say, Mike, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna show up. Fine, go ahead. Go get a gym membership. I'll root you on, but people probably don't show up. Anyhow, that's a long-winded way of saying, Chris, that's a great example of how I think we both let our audiences know how they should be getting into fitness. It should be natural.
Yeah. Whenever, that they have that encouragement, excitement, I'd say rather than just going straight to the gym, I mean, you can go spend that money, but I would say rather than doing that, go get you some muscle milks or some whey protein or something, or some creatine, depending on if you're trying to build mass or lose weight, and go, buy some healthy foods, or just get on the ground and start doing some push-ups. Start going for a walk. If you're not, if your goal's to lose weight, start going for a walk first. Just go out and just either, most places have a park, most towns, cities, whatever, they've either got a park or a walking trail, running trail, something that you can go for a walk on. If you're trying to start building muscle, just do what I did. If you're feeling, ambitious, just get on the ground and do some push-ups. If you can't do regular push-ups, you can do push-ups on your knees to start off with. And that will incrementally build your strength up enough to where you can start doing regular push-ups. Do planks to build your core strength so that you can do regular push-ups. Just start small. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because you can build your foundation, or a decent foundation at least, without going to the gym.
Yeah.
And some people mentally, being in that gym setting is, more motivating than, being in the same house or wherever that they've been living this sedentary lifestyle for so many years. But for me, it was just, I don't know. I would just, I would be tired sometimes, and then I would just all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'm done with this. And then I would just start doing some push-ups. And I just gradually increased, but I would say the first year, at least, I didn't go to the gym. I would jog around the block or whatever, down the sidewalk. I would do push-ups. Like I said, I eventually got a weight bench, some dumbbells. So I, had everything except a squat rack. And like I said, you can do, I had the dumbbells with the, where you can change the weights. And I would put like 30, 40 pounds on them. You do weighted lunges. That's a fantastic leg exercise that you don't need a barbell or squat rack to do. But I would say to, build up from, take small steps,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you'll feel more, if you do like an at-home exercise, I feel like you'll feel good about it once you're finished. You'll be like, okay. And then after that first step, it becomes so much easier to build from there. That's why I say, if you're feeling motivated right now, just start right right now, get on the ground, just do some push-ups or whatever. Do whatever you want to do. Go for a walk. And then the next day, you're going to feel good about it. You'll feel that delayed onset muscle soreness if you haven't done anything in a long time.
Yeah.
And then you'll want to continue. You'll feel obligated to continue because
100%.
it's an obligation you've made to yourself. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's the best advice I think we've given, and actually, Chris, has given to this entire stream. That entire uh, that entire piece of the stream there really lets people know exactly how to get into this and get into it correctly. Um, so what I'm doing here on the stream is saying, what's your motivation? I'm trying to help you with your motivation. What Chris just did is told you exactly how to carry it through so that you don't lose your motivation. Because it's sometimes it's very hard for us to find our purpose and our reason and our goal and our motivation to get in and do it. The last thing you want to do is kill it dead by starting too hard, too much for you to handle, and you burn out quickly. You burn out over what your motivation is capable of pushing you through. It's sometimes it's hard enough to get started. Do not shoot yourself in the foot by starting too fast, too hard, too much. Go in incremental steps, just like Chris said. I couldn't say any better, so I'm not going to try to add to it. He said it. It's done. I'm going to move on to the last little bit of the list here as we round out the stream. So the last one on the list, we work from the bottom up, and what I've got here is health, just overall health and longevity. That is a motivation, and that to me is your long term. And I know that can sound painfully obvious, but unfortunately, a lot of folks don't listen to it until they get down to what I covered before, the health scare, right? So we take our health and our longevity for granted, oftentimes, until we get an event and it becomes a health scare. So what I'm trying to help y'all, and what Chris and I are trying to help y'all do, is stay out in front of these health scares and use your health and longevity today as the reason why you want to get up and move. Use it today why you want to get up and, like Chris said, go do a couple of push-ups. Get up and walk around the house. Start small. Please just start. Because as we've heard many times before, oh, just show up. Show up. Yes, show up. Please. But have a motivation to continue to show up. And Chris, it just really detailed out exactly how you do it. So as far as what's the most motivating, it is absolutely, to me, and I don't know about you, Chris, but to me, it is all about health and longevity. And that has never rang more true to me personally until I started a family with my wife, until I had children. And then I realized there's more. I mean so much more in this world. I can no longer be so selfish and just think of myself. I've got to be here for somebody else now. And then I want to be here then for my children's children to be a grandfather and have fun. So health and longevity, that's what's going to carry everybody a long, long way. If you can find the motivation to be able to make it habitual, the health and fitness journey, make that habitual, the health and longevity piece will then be more motivational than it is to you today. Because today, if you haven't started fitness at all, me telling you that's not super motivating. That doesn't light a fire. Doesn't light a fire under most. Because what people are lighting the fire under are these revenge and aesthetics, trying to gain muscle, gain strength, a health scare. Those are the fire lighters, right? But not health and longevity. It sounds really boring. But I assure you, once you start getting into this, like Chris and I and many others who are watching, you'll realize, yes, health and longevity does make sense. And you'll see that once you get into your later decades, because you'll actually see where the body does begin to slow down. You'll see where you'll have new aches and pains you didn't have when you were 20, 30, 40. And as we age, the aging process is natural. It's not, you're not going to beat it. What you can do is be the very best 50-year-old, the very best 60, the very best 70 you can be. Otherwise, if you don't go into your later years with a full head of steam, you're gonna wish you had done something about it earlier. It's you don't want to regret. The thing is, once the time is gone, it's gone, right? And I'm not trying to sound like I'm old and wise, but I'm taking some of my wisdom from my patients, where I see them and I talk to them, and they tell me this very same thing. Some of these guys, male or female, they'll walk in to my office and they're 80s or 90 years old and they look fantastic, people, up and around, doing well, cutting up, laughing, having full conversation. Everything is good. These people are living life. They're not on the downhill. They're not just surviving. They're not suffering through. But then I see the flip side of that coin. I see the 40s and the 50s and the 60 somethings. And yeah, I said 40s and sometimes 30s. They'll drag ass into that office, suffering. A big, freaking sad story. And it's because they don't care to do anything about it. They don't care to do anything about their own health and fitness. You're coming in for me to fix it. For us healthcare workers and for us doctors, nurses, and they want us to just fix it. Because they live in an age where just pop a pill and it's fixed. It just doesn't work like that. Chris, I'm rambling now, but I just wanted everybody to know that health and longevity is your key. What do you say to that, Chris?
Well, I mean, the healthier you are, the better you feel. The more natural energy you will have, the less you'll be dependent on Red Bulls or other forms of caffeine. You'll have the self gratification after you've been, even after your first week. Say you did 2 workouts in 1 week. The biggest downfall and the biggest deal breaker for so many people are the days where they are kind of like lacking energy. They don't feel like going, and they decide, well, I'm not going to go today. I'll come back tomorrow.
Right.
They don't come back tomorrow. I can't tell you how many of the best workouts I've had because I went on in and just kind of toughed it out through my warm up. And then by the time I was a few sets in, I was pushing more weight or pulling more weight than I was before. And I was like, whoa. And then I go on and then I do a few extra sets or another accessory exercise or something, and there's been so many times like that. So just don't, if you're having that low energy kind of day or you're kind of like bummed out or something, just go on in anyway. If you had a workout plan that day, and if say it's one of the workouts that you don't particularly enjoy, do a workout that you enjoy instead.
Yeah.
Don't like do chest day every day or anything like that. But if you do a push-pull legs or a variation of that, you want to give your muscles time to heal, but a push, like if you did push yesterday or yesterday was your rest day, you can go ahead and do a pull day. And if you don't enjoy pull day, you can do leg day. If you hate leg day, you can, vice versa.
Yeah.
Or you can just go in and have an accessory day where you do your, bicep curls and lat raises, things like that. And I guarantee you, once you get in there and you get moving and you get your blood pumping, you'll probably go ahead and go through with the workout.
Agreed. I couldn't have said it better. And that's the best way to wrap this up then, Chris, because the thing is that's so true. And I've said it in the past in previous streams, and I promise y'all, if y'all go back and watch all of our streams, I've said it and Chris has said it before as well. It's not the first time that he or I have said that. Basically, do whatever you got to do to get in there and make the work happen. Not every day, whenever it comes down to the day where it's a lift day, not every single day you're going to feel like doing it. You're actually going to feel like, no, I don't want to do it today. But as Chris said, just get in and do it. Just go get started. Because I promise you, if you just go knock it out, it could either one, be one of your best training days, as Chris was describing, or two, it can at least, when you finished it and you completed it, you showed up. What that does to you mentally, it says that, yes, I got this no matter what. Like I did. I didn't want to come today, but damn it, I did it today. And that's a huge motivation to keep you moving. And so that's great that you said that, Chris, because that's a great example, and I think everybody can take a piece of that, if not all of it, and put it into their whole fitness lifestyle. I'm telling you, if you just show up, I know it may sound cliche, and we've probably heard it a million times, but it's so extremely true. Just show up, move something, get something done. And I've done it myself, Chris. You said that, if you show up one day on one of your training days, you don't want to do legs that day or something. And you're like, oh my God, you can't even think that you want to do. You can't even think about doing it. If I get there and my mind is that far detached, like you said, I switch it. I switch the muscle group. I'm not gonna sit there and drudge and drag my lazy ass through it if I'm half-assing it, right? Because sometimes I'll try to start it, the leg day, and I ain't feeling it. I'll go ahead and start it. And if I know I'm half-assing, I switch the muscle group. Personally, I've done it. I've done it a million times. So that's great advice, Chris. So anyhow, guys, I want to thank you guys for showing up for another stream. Chris and I really, really love getting these done for you. And every other week, well, as I said in the beginning of the stream, we switch channels. So our next show is going to be with Chris on his channel. He's going to be hosting us, and that's going to be in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. We always try to come up with interesting topics for you guys, whether they're serious or whether they're fun. But all in all, we're always here just trying to help you guys. And I know Chris feels the same way. We're just trying to build a great community, help people, really kind of get in touch with, truth and facts, and getting away from touchy feely stuff. We're getting into the nitty gritty. I mean, we're only going to speak from what we know. We're not going to make shit up. We speak straight from either life experience, or what we have read out of, respected, literature. So we're here to speak truth, Chris, and I think you would agree. So make sure, if you haven't already, make sure to smash that like button, guys, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I'm going to have in the description of this video, I'm going to have Chris's links to Chris's channel. Please, if you haven't already, click the link, go subscribe to him so you don't miss any of our upcoming streams between the two of our channels, because we enjoy all of our audience as they follow us back and forth. And we really do. I can't thank you enough, because you guys jump back and forth to our channels, and we know who you are. We see your comments, and we see you coming in and showing up live. So I greatly appreciate it. Chris, I'll let you just finish it up and close us out.
I just wanted to thank everybody as well. And if there's ever a topic that you want us to cover, just make sure to leave it in the comments or the chat, and we'll do our best to help everybody out the best we can. And I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody who showed up on live and on playback. We'll see you in 2 weeks.